This is the Qlife Racer Electric Bike, a slim step-over mountain-style e-bike with a matte black carbon steel frame, 26-inch wheels wrapped in 2.1-inch tires, a front suspension fork, mechanical disc brakes, and a simple LCD control panel on the bar. The lines are clean, the frame feels stout in hand, and the whole setup aims to be lightweight for the class. I see a bike built around practicality and value, not flashy extras. From my experience, that shows up the moment you start riding and the moment you start wrenching. Key features on paper are strong for the price. You get a 36-volt 10.4 Ah battery for 375 watts of energy, a rear hub motor that's rated 350 watts with peak assist up to 750 watts, pedal assist and throttle, and a claimed top speed around 22 mph. It's a 21-speed drivetrain with trigger shifters, which is unusual among budget e-bikes that often stick to a basic 7-speed. There's a headlight, an easy-to-read LCD, and a kickstand, plus tools, a charger, and a battery key in the box. The whole bike weighs about 48 pounds and is rated to carry up to 350 pounds. The company says it suits riders about 5'3" to 6'3", and in my riding position, tests that's workable, but I'll get into comfort in a minute. I started with assembly and setup. The tools included can get you rolling, but I grabbed my own hex keys and a decent pedal wrench to make life easier. I went over every bolt I could find, especially the stem, handlebar, seat clamp, caliper mounts, and rotor bolts. That part matters. Shipping can loosen hardware, and with a carbon steel frame and budget hardware, a thorough check saves headaches later. I also checked spoke tension and made sure the wheels were seated straight. The drivetrain needed a touch of derailleur adjustment to get crisp shifts across all 21 gears, and the mechanical disc brakes took a few minutes of centering so the rotors wouldn't rub. None of this is unusual for value bikes, but it's something I always plan for. From my experience, brake and shifter cables stretch during the first few rides, so I expect to retighten and fine-tune after the first week. On the road, the motor feels honest for what it is. The acceleration is steady, not wild, and in my tests I hit about 20 mph on flat ground without much effort, and a bit more with a strong pedal. Hill starts are manageable if I use both throttle and the right gear. The cadence sensor is the detail you feel most. A cadence sensor measures if the pedals are turning, not how hard I'm pushing. That makes assist feel like a simple on-off switch. I notice up to a 1-second delay when assist kicks in or cuts out. If you've ridden higher-end bikes with torque sensors, this can feel laggy. If you're newer to e-bikes, you'll adapt in a ride or two by timing your shifts and easing the pedals when you want the motor to stop. In my opinion, it's a fair trade at this price, but it's something I want to set expectations on. The 21-speed drivetrain is a standout. Having a wide gear range lets me keep a comfortable cadence on climbs and cruise at speed without spinning out. Shifts are smooth after dial-in, and I'm glad it's a trigger setup because thumb and forefinger shifting is more precise than twist shifters. The brakes are mechanical discs, which means a cable pulls the caliper rather than hydraulic fluid. Mechanical systems require more frequent adjustment and bedding in, but they're straightforward to maintain at home. Stopping power is solid for commuter speeds and light trail use. If I were riding steep descents daily, I'd consider better pads later, but for city roads and gravel paths, they're fine. The front suspension fork is basic. It takes the edge off potholes and curb cuts, which is exactly where I want the help for commuting and light trails. It's not tuned for serious off-road pounding. If you expect it to float you through rocky single track, you'll be disappointed. Kept in its lane, urban streets, bike paths, and packed dirt, it adds comfort. Comfort and fit are where rider size really matters. I can raise the saddle enough for proper leg extension, but the reach to the bars feels shorter than a true trail bike. For me, at a medium-tall height, I feel a bit cramped on long rides unless I slide the saddle back a touch and consider a longer stem. Shorter riders tend to feel right at home with this geometry. The frame's rated for up to 350 pounds, and the steel construction contributes to that sturdy feel. The stock saddle is usable, but I'd swap it for something with a pressure relief channel if I were commuting daily. The pedals are serviceable. Grippier pedals would be a cheap upgrade. Tires are 26 by 2.1, which is a nice middle ground. Narrow enough to roll well on pavement, wide enough to handle gravel without drama. A tire with puncture protection would be a smart future upgrade if you ride through debris. Battery life has matched expectations. A 375 pack isn't huge, but with moderate pedal assist I can get around 40 miles, give or take based on my weight, wind, hills, and assist level. If I lean on the throttle and high assist, that drops. If I keep it on low assist and use the gears smartly, I can stretch range. Charging from near empty takes about 4 to 5 hours. I like that the battery locks and pops out for indoor charging. If you're new to e-bikes, treat the battery gently. Avoid leaving it in extreme heat, bring it inside in winter, and charge it within a day of riding instead of letting it sit near empty. From my experience, the real story is ownership. This is a budget-friendly e-bike that rewards a hands-on rider. I've had to adjust brakes and gears during the break-in. I've checked bolts after the first few rides. I use a drop of thread locker on stubborn fasteners. These are simple habits that keep the bike quiet and reliable. I've also seen mixed accounts online about long-term durability and getting replacement parts quickly. I can't speak for every case, but I plan to handle basic maintenance myself and keep spares like brake pads and a chain on hand. A local bike shop can help with wheel truing or tougher jobs, even if the brand isn't one they sell. It's perfect for commuters who want a simple, affordable e-bike to get to work or school, riders who enjoy light trail spins, and anyone who prefers a traditional step-over frame with 26-inch wheels rather than a folding setup. It's also a practical choice for riders on the shorter side who want a stable, confidence-building ride that doesn't feel bulky. I'd recommend this for hobbyists and budget-conscious riders who don't mind dialing in a bike and making a few upgrades over time. I wouldn't pick it for a taller rider planning long, fast rides without changing the cockpit, or for aggressive mountain riding. That's beyond the fork's comfort zone and the brake's intent. In my opinion, the value shows up in how much capability you get for the price. The 21-speed drivetrain is a real advantage on hills. The steel frame feels solid under load. The removable battery keeps charging simple. The LCD is clear and the control layout is intuitive after a day of riding. On the flip side, the cadence sensor delay is noticeable until you adapt. The fork is basic. The stock saddle and pedals aren't dream parts. Cables stretch and need attention early. None of that is unusual at this price, and if you're prepared for it, you'll be fine. If you're new to e-bikes, a quick term guide helps. Cadence sensor means the bike gives power when the pedals are turning and cuts it when you stop with a small delay. Mechanical disc brakes use a cable to move the pads against the rotor. They're easy to adjust with a small hex key. Watt hours, or WWAC, tell you battery capacity. A 375 battery is mid-sized for casual riding. Pedal assist adds power while you pedal. Throttle gives power on demand without pedaling, but it will drain the battery faster. From my experience, a few tweaks go a long way. Set your saddle height so your knee has a slight bend at the bottom of the stroke. Center your brake calipers so the rotor doesn't rub. Shift through all gears on a stand and fine-tune the limit screws so the chain doesn't jump off. Keep the chain clean and lightly lubricated. Check tires weekly for debris and proper pressure. Pop a multi-tool in your bag and you're set. I'd recommend this for riders who want a sturdy, light-feeling e-MTB style bike for everyday use, who like the idea of 21 gears for mixed terrain, and who value a remove and charge battery. It's not a luxury ride, but it's a capable, honest platform you can grow with. If you're willing to learn a bit of bike care, you'll get far more out of it than the price suggests. In conclusion, the Qlife Racer Electric Bike for adults delivers a lot where it counts. Usable power, real gearing, solid brakes for daily riding, and a frame that inspires confidence. It asks a little back in setup and maintenance, and comfort may require small changes if you're on the taller side. For me, the trade makes sense because I like to tune my bikes and I appreciate the wide gear range on hills. If that sounds like you, this is a smart buy that can carry you through commutes, weekend paths, and gravel shortcuts without fuss. I'll leave the details about the Qlife Racer Electric Bike for adults in the comments for you to check out. See you in the next video.